Good morning and welcome back, NEA leaders. Once again, I am Mark Joel, an educator from Greensboro, North Carolina, and a member of the NEA Executive Committee. Let's give it up again for DJ Kimmett over here.
Yes.
Tell me, family, what did you all think about day one of the summit? Did you have a good time? President Pringle had us all on her feet and ready for action. And Dr. Emden was exactly what we needed to hear to kick off the weekend.
Amazing.
And I know everybody had so much fun connecting during the social. Well, NEA family, it's time for another action-packed day. Gladys?
Buenos dias, buenos dias, buenos dias. Good morning, everybody. Yes, today we will hear from our very own NEA Vice President, Princess Moss. Yes, we're in for a treat. And because our sub-theme for today is the brilliance of students, we're going to hear from one of our youngest leaders, a beautiful, brilliant author, artist, and poet who is a leader in the disability justice movement. After that, we have more giveaways, courtesy of our sponsor, NEA Member Benefits. Please visit their tables in the South Lobby when you have a chance. And just a few reminders, if you haven't participated yet in the think tank engagements, there is always today, so make a little bit of time to snap a picture of that QR code. The success of our visioning work depends on your willingness to share your ideas, be engaged, and learn from each other. We need you to be the architects of the future of public education. There are some very good ideas on those Post-it notes out there, as well as those that we captured via the Smartsheet app. But we need more, so please participate. Use your device to scan the QR code on the board immediately outside of Hall C, or look in the Think Tank Engagement app via the Summit app. Mark?
Thanks, Gladys. And please don't forget to visit the PAC table as well. We have only to look to Florida, Arkansas, and dozens of other states that understand why our advocacy is crucial to ensure that every student has an opportunity to reach their fullest potential and that public education remains a common good for all. Thank you, NEA leaders, and enjoy today's session. Now, please help me, NEA family, welcome Hannah St. Clair.
Thank you. Hello, I am Hannah St. Clair, an aspiring educator from Oregon. And I serve on the Summit Design team. I have the privilege today of introducing Vice President Princess Moss. She's an elementary school music teacher from Louisa County, Virginia, is the Vice President of the National Education Association, the nation's largest professional organization. She is a champion of children and public education at the local, state, and national levels. Moss served as the Secretary-Treasurer from 2014 through 2020. Prior to this, she distinguished herself with 2 terms on the NEA Executive Committee, where she served on the Elementary and Secondary Education Advisory Committee, steering the association's strategy for the law's pending reauthorization, and the Dropout Prevention Advisory Committee, helping develop relevant tools for NEA members. Under her direction as president, the 62,000-member Virginia Education Association increased its membership and advocated successfully for greater investment in public education at the state and local levels. She also served, yeah, we can clap for that. Go Virginia. She also served as the VEA vice president and on the board of directors for NEA and VEA for over 10 years. The daughter of 2 school bus drivers, Moss earned her bachelor's degree in music education from the University of Mary Washington and received the university's Distinguished Alumnus Award in 2006. She also earned a master's degree in elementary and secondary administration and supervision from the University of Virginia. Union siblings, please help me give a warm welcome to NEA Vice President Princess Moss.
Thank you, Hannah, for that warm introduction. Hello, NEA. It is so good to see all of you this morning. The year was 1983. I was fresh out of college and beginning my teaching career in the heart of rural Virginia at Louisa County Intermediate School. I was so excited to teach music, band, and chorus to 5th, 6th, and 7th grade students. Any music teachers in the room? One of my students was Darius Quarles. Darius played the snare drum. Darius also liked to draw, but I'll tell you about that in just a moment. Long before I met Darius, I knew his grandparents, Virginia Adeline and Clyde Henry Quarles. They were pillars of the community. Darius's grandfather was a World War II Army vet and a well-respected leader in Galilee Baptist Church. His grandmother, well, if you didn't actually know Miss Adeline, you knew of her because you know what I'm talking about. She ran a beauty shop, and that's what we called them back then, right? Beauty shop. She ran a beauty shop in the basement of her home. And back then, especially in small southern towns like mine, black barbershops and beauty shops helped to create community, much like the black church. The women who gathered in Miss Adeline's basement were teachers and support staff. And many times, Darius would join them. He would watch his grandmother do hair, and he would listen to the stories of the women. Now, and I'll tell you, it's hard for me to believe that young Darius just sat and listened. Hard to believe. Because the Darius that was in my music class, that Darius talked. And he talked. And he talked. Sometimes he talked so much that he was disruptive. In fact, Darius took great pride in being the class clown. Darius never intended harm, but sure was he full of mischief. Now, I know some of y'all know what I'm talking about. One time, I don't even know if I can say this on the stage. One time, Darius lit a firecracker on the school bus. I talked to Darius recently, and he hasn't forgotten what he did. He also hasn't forgotten what happened after. The bus driver, Mr. Thomas Henson, was a relative of Darius's. Instead, yeah, y'all know where this is going. Instead of writing a referral, Mr. Henson drove the entire busload of students past their stops, straight to Darius's house, and put him off the bus. Well, that afternoon, Miss Adeline was home doing hair, and the shop was filled with customers. Darius said that no referral in the whole wide world had a bigger impact than having a busload of his classmates watch him being put off the bus and the customers in Miss Adeline's beauty shop watching him walk down the steps of that bus. My goodness. Oh, wow. During our conversation about a week ago, Darius also told me some other things that he liked to do as a kid. Things that had nothing to do with causing mischief. As a child, Darius spent hours studying the lines between the clouds and the trees. When he went indoors, he would turn what he saw into sketches. As the grandson of a man who owned lots of farmland, Darius also spent a lot of time walking behind his granddad's tractor. Darius sketched that too, along with cabbage, corn, carrots, potatoes, all kinds of other root vegetables. Whatever he saw, Darius turned into the world around him. He tuned into that world, and then he turned that world into art. After high school, Darius followed his grandfather's footsteps toward military service. Darius joined the Navy. No matter where he was, Darius continued to observe the world around him and sketch what he saw. Most importantly, he kept his eyes on his dream. After the Navy, Darius held several jobs. He even worked as a receptionist in an orthodontist's office. And by now, he wasn't just making sketches. He was creating paintings. Paintings that were beautiful. Paintings that were thoughtful. Paintings that were thought-provoking. The orthodontist allowed Darius to hang his work on the office wall. And you can guess what happened. The patients began to purchase Darius's work. And so after a while, Darius decided that for himself, that it was time for him to take a leap of faith. It was time for him to turn his dream into a reality. Dead broke, he quit his job at the orthodontist's office, and he opened Virginia Henry's, which was an art gallery named in honor of his grandparents, Virginia Adeline and Clyde Henry, the grandparents who raised him. Yeah, that's Darius there, standing by one of his paintings. Virginia Henry has since closed, and Darius and his family live in Durham, North Carolina. All right, yep. Darius produces more than 200 original pieces of art every year. His paintings are displayed in homes and businesses all across the nation. And he is the only remaining member of an original group of 10 artists who founded 5 Points Gallery in 2012. My former mischievous yet brilliant student is today a brilliant adult and a brilliant artist. NEA, 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 there is no test and there is no tool that could have measured Darius's brilliance. He had a talent for the arts, but his talent wasn't nurtured by an education system that, unfortunately, to this day, focuses mostly on subjects that can be assessed by a standardized test. But here's what I know to be true. No matter who we are, each of us has a God-given gift. Each of us has talent. As the teacher and poet John O'Donohue put it, each person has a unique destiny. To be born is to be chosen. There is something special that each of us has to do in this world. There is. At the heart of each destiny is a unique life calling. NEA, NEA. Let me hear you, yes. What we know is that the brilliance of our students is everywhere. It is our job. It is our job as educators and leaders in the largest labor union in this nation to demand that public education redefine what it means for a student to be successful. We must help that unique life calling that John O'Donohue wrote about and that Darius followed. Academic achievement tests are not and should not be the ultimate measure. Interestingly, when I called Darius to ask permission to tell his story, we learned that we had Googled each other. His first words were, "Ms. Moss, you haven't aged a bit." I love that child. What mischievousness, what craziness, what disruptiveness. He was like my top student, right? Oh, but that certainly made me smile. You know, standing before you today as your NEA Vice President, Darius's story reminds me of a truth that is quite simple, but sometimes hard to remember. We know the road of life can sometimes be bumpy and filled with curves. But we must be just like Darius and keep our eyes focused on the horizon, no matter what. Our ability to keep our eyes on the horizon is, to me, the thread that connects NEA's 7 leadership competencies. That connection creates strong outcomes for our students, for their families, for our educators, for our communities, and for our nation. As many of you know, my father was a school bus driver, and he would have loved that story about Darius being removed from the bus. My father was also a Baptist minister and a farmer, and each spring he would get out his tractor and plow up perfectly straight rows to plant our family garden. Do you know how farmers plant straight rows? You drive in the country anywhere and you see, right, they're always picture perfect straight rows. Farmers are able to plant straight rows like that because when they plow, they don't look around, they don't look down, they look straight ahead. And they focus their eyes on a point on the horizon, never taking their eyes off of that point. And that is how they're able to walk toward the end of the row, just like Darius walked toward his dream, completely focused on his destination. Not too long ago, a health scare forced me to keep my eyes on the horizon as a leader. I stood up to give a speech at an NEA event, and my voice was just not there. In fact, some of you have said to me, as we've meted and greeted yesterday, "Princess, you have your voice back." Yes. It took a while to get answers about what was happening, but we kept pushing the doctors and questioning the doctors, and finally, during a CT scan, the radiologist discovered a small benign tumor that was impacting my cranial nerves, which impacted the nerves to my vocal cords. Let me tell you, benign or not, it was a tumor, you know? And it was scary. Once the source of the problem was found and the growth of the tumor was stopped, I was able to get back on the road to good health. But I tell you, it was one of the most terrifying times of my life. And sometimes when we're up close to a crisis, things can seem overwhelming. Things can seem frightening. But when we step back, when we have the space and time to gain perspective, we see that there was a reason. There was a reason for what we've gone through. That reason can enrich our lives. It can make us better leaders. It can even cause us to focus more closely on our goals. Throughout my experience, I leaned on Darius's story. I also leaned on the support of my NEA family. In so many places and in so many spaces, you showed your love and compassion. It forever transformed me as a leader. In the process, I learned some very, very important lessons that I would like to share with you. One, brilliance comes in many forms and packages and shapes. It cannot always be accurately assessed on a paper and pencil bubble test or by your own experiences or frame of reference. Two, as educators, we must look for our students' unique brilliance. Pay attention to their unique interests, and then we must nurture what we find. Three, everyone has an asset. We must be more eager to look for that instead of looking for their deficits. I'm going to say that one more time. Everyone has an asset. Even the student who you find it just incredibly hard to work with, that student that gets on your last nerve. Everyone has an asset. We must look to ensure that we're looking for the assets and not the deficits. Four, follow your dreams. Follow your dreams. Five, and just like Darius, never, ever, ever, ever give up hope. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much. And now, I have the honor and the privilege of introducing our next speaker. And I really can't do her justice because she is amazing. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about her so that you can help me welcome her to the stage. Our next speaker, Helena Lourdes Donato Sapp. Helena is a 13-year-old activist. She is an author, a speaker, artist who believes that the next generation can and must tackle topics such as racism, ableism, homophobia, misogyny, poverty, and climate change. I've only spent a few moments with Helena this morning, and of course I watched her YouTube videos, but I already love her. I already love her, and I know that you will love her too. So please join me in welcoming and giving a warm NEA welcome to Helena Lourdes Donato Sapp. Join me, family.
Before I even begin, it feels important to me to say a big I love you to unions. I may be 13, but I know my history, and union work has run deep in my family for generations. I've grown up on stories of my great-grandfather in his union work as a coal miner in the great state of West Virginia. And my grandmother raised me on stories of John Lewis. My papa is a retired flight attendant for United Airlines and volunteered for years to mediate labor disputes for fellow flight attendants. And my dad is an educator just like you and an active member of the California Faculty Association. My Lola has told me about my Filipino relatives who worked as fruit pickers in Fresno, Delano, and Bakersfield, California. And because of this, I feel a deep commitment to the United Farm Workers. So before I say anything at all, I'm compelled to be direct and tell you face to face that I love you. Thank you to the NEA for inviting me to speak today and showing that you value the power of youth voices. Thank you to Princess Moss for that introduction. As I read about you before today, I saw that we have something in common, and it is something that we have in common with every single educator here today. We believe in the power of storytelling. I was born 2 months early and weighed only 2.5 pounds and had a tough beginning to my life. I had multiple brain bleeds. I had heart surgery at 10 days old. I spent my first 2 months of life in the local hospital NICU, and I was kept on oxygen and a heart monitor for my first full year of life. I was adopted at birth by 2 queer dads who seemed not to be that overwhelmed my first day of life, even though the doctors gave a grim report. My dad, who, by the way, is a 43-year veteran of teaching, looked into my papa's tear-stained eyes my first day of life and said to him, "If Helena has special needs, that only means that we will be introduced to a new and loving community." And here I am, speaking to you, my loving community. My 2 fathers' response to a difficult birth is an important part of my narrative because it shows you exactly where my positive identity formed. Fast forward to kindergarten. Fast forward to kindergarten. One day, I came home and said to my dads that I wish I had long blonde hair like my best friend in school. My parents simply walked me to our full-length mirror, and my parents modeled for me what has become a major family value for us. They instructed me to look into the mirror and say the following out loud to my hair: "I am sorry, hair. I love you, hair." I can stand here and say today that I have never heard a negative comment about my body in my home. Not one. And that is why I can stand before you today with such strength and with the most beautiful locks you have ever seen. But let me be frank with you. The world outside my home isn't as kind to me and to kids like me. And that includes the world of school. I need help from everyone in this room. Teachers, those who serve our lunches, those who give me my first smile of the day in the front office, those who get me safely to school, those who provide me with the learning supports that I need to be successful, to make school a better place for kids like me. Fast forward to the end of first grade, and my teacher suggested to my parents that I be tested for learning disabilities. That summer's testing showed that I had a visual processing disorder and a working memory disorder. That means that it is difficult for me to track things visually from the board to my notes and from the text to the worksheet. And my working memory disorder means that it takes a lot of gentle over-teaching for me to get things. I always do get things, by the way. It's just... It's just that I am not fast, and a few educators, and certainly many of my peers, think that fast equals smarter. I don't believe that, but they do. Fast forward to the summer going into middle school, and I was retested, and I was also found to have dyscalculia and ADHD. I'm a veteran activist at the age of 13. I've won a global award for disability justice. As one of the leaders in the world lifting up disability pride. I'm the youngest recipient of this award to date. I won a National STEM Award and have been called one of the most brilliant voices in STEM. And science is, after all, my favorite subject. Along with my two dads, we won the Generations Award from a prestigious think tank, an award that honors the work of multiple generations of the same family working for justice and equity in the world. And recently, I won an award from the Abolitionist Teaching Network for my work in confronting ableism in schools. Thank you. And if you want to know why I'm a veteran activist at the age of 13, it is because the world brings the fight to my front door. I am also an accomplished youth scholar with chapters published in esteemed books on Black girlhood, queer families, and feminism. I've published peer-reviewed journal articles on disability justice and decolonizing my elementary education. A scholarly interest I have is on the concept of intersectionality. Intersectionalities are just the different categories we belong to. Most people just name the big three: race, class, and gender. But there are many others, like ability, citizenship, language, faith, immigration, family structure, sexuality, ethnicity, and age. All of these affect how much power we have in different contexts. These overlapping identities also increase a child for discrimination and disadvantage. I've shared some of my personal intersectionalities with you already. I am a girl. I was born with special needs. I am adopted. My birth parents were Haitian immigrants. I'm beautifully black. I am dark-skinned black. I have queer fathers. One of my fathers is a Filipino immigrant. My other father was raised in severe poverty in West Virginia. And I have multiple and invisible learning disabilities. I'm not just one thing, I am many things. And this is true for each and every student in your schools. We bring multiple intersectional identities to you, and you meet us with your own multiple intersectional identities as well. It is because of my intersectional identities that I'm a veteran activist working to end sexism and misogyny. I also fight to end racism and anti-blackness and colorism. I'm not immune to homophobia because I have two dads. I rail against ageism every day because some adults don't think young people are capable of intelligence, of scholarship, of activism, and of speaking truth to power. And I work hard every single day to lift up my learning disabilities as my superpowers, because if I don't do that, the world will see me less than I am. As a child with my intersectional identities, school has not been easy for me. I'm going to use my learning disabilities to illustrate this, but just know that I could have used race, class, gender, family structure, and other identities as well. Even though school requested that I be tested for learning disabilities. After I tested and those learning disabilities were identified, I feel like school held them against me. Like many other schools that do not have enough teachers and resources, it is hard to have an IEP implemented. Elementary school was particularly difficult. Just like many other educators, my teacher had too many students and did not have the resources needed to provide me with the support I needed to help me with my dyscalculia. Even this 8th grade year, I had to jump through all these hoops to get a new IEP, and it took a lot of meetings and time. After I got the new IEP, and my parents asked for an element of it to be implemented. Like so many others with disabilities, my school didn't have the needed resources and found it difficult to provide me with the individualized accommodations that I needed. That is not how IEPs and accommodations are supposed to work. I am 13 and I know that. School is tough, but I'm tougher. I've proved those who expected less of me by having straight A's in 6th, 7th, and 8th grades. I hope I represent a new generation of students coming into your classrooms who will need your support and your help. We, both students and educators, will not stand to be diminished because of any of our identities, And that most definitely includes our fabulous, wonderful, glorious learning disabilities. I'm fond of telling the story of a video that went viral a few years ago, and maybe some of you have seen it. It showed the UCLA's basketball team. One of the players, Moses Brown, made a bad pass and his team lost the ball. He hung his head in disappointment and shame. But another one of his teammates, a guy named Jalen Hands, walked up to Moses, placed his hand under his chin, and tilted his head back where it belongs. Although it is just a split-second clip for that moment, I can't think of a better image to give you and to tell you what disability justice means than the image of Jalen helping Moses lift his head up high. I'm a disability justice activist, and I hold my head up high about each of my disabilities. I refuse to have any veil of shame placed on me. And the goal of my work for disability justice is to model to all children to refuse any veil of shame, of deficit ideology, and to replace it with the armor of self-worth. I kind of want to be gentle with you all. I come from a family that deeply, deeply loves and respects the difficult work of educating children. I can honestly look out into this crowd of educators, and I see my own dear teachers who taught me to read and write, who taught me about why it is important to have good citations and not to plagiarize. Who taught me about the power of archetypes, who inspired me to love the periodic table of elements, and who have gently said to me more than once that whatever you do to one side of the equation, and since I have a dad teacher, I know how tough it is to be an educator. So I do want to be sensitive and gentle with you. At the same time, I am an activist, and it is my job to be fierce and speak truth to power. I mean, come on, this is some kind of weird opportunity for an 8th grader to be speaking to a few thousand educators. So then, as gently as I can, with all due respect, I am compelled to say to you that I am not a problem body, and I am not a problem mind. I am a worthy body, and I am a worthy mind. Please put students first. I know that because of testing that you are all tasked with putting content first. But please, put us first. Put caring first. Do not diminish or underestimate me because I have learning disabilities. Because with your correct, positive disposition, I will work harder for you than anyone you have ever known. But only if you put caring first. Those of us with disabilities, and we are so many. Some who have been lucky to be diagnosed like myself, and others who deeply struggle and don't know why yet. We deserve a fair chance at a good education. The world favors those who are quick and those who are made for school. We see the way society loves them more than us. We see it in a glance. We feel the negative energy. Please, help kids like me. By the time I was in 3rd grade, I could already define deficit ideology. That is such an incredible and ridiculous statement that I'm just going to take a long pause and say it one more time. By the time I was in 3rd grade, I could already define deficit ideology. And I'm standing here to tell you all, gently and fiercely, that kids like me will no longer allow ourselves to be diminished because of our learning disabilities. Or any of our intersectional identities. We need your help. We are learning how to self-advocate, and we will be kind about it, but fierce about it, but kind about it, but fierce about it, but kind about it, but fierce about it. I stand before you today as one child, but I represent millions of children. I do not speak for them, only for myself, as I believe that it is time for all of us to rise up as a movement. Everyone experiences ableism differently. There are many voices in this movement, not just mine. All I ask is that you help us and educate those who hinder us. All I ask is that you support us and advocate for us. All I ask is that you lead us and love us. All I ask is that you believe in us and in each other, and that you support us when others belittle us. All I ask is that there is no veil of shame put upon us, but that you help armor us with worthiness. Society often sees a child with learning disabilities as a problem body and a problem mind. I'm something to handle. I'm a disturbance. And because of these unprofessional dispositions, it should not surprise you that my peers then take the lead from others, and they also begin seeing me as a problem body and a problem mind. This has led to so much bullying for me, and it is one of the reasons that anti-bullying is one of my scholarly and activist stances as well. One peer announced to everyone in my 4th grade class that I was the dumbest in our class. Another time, in 7th grade, we had this difficult test in our history class, and everyone got a horrible grade, and the whole class was upset. Some of the girls asked me what grade I got, and I said I got an A. And then they just laughed in my face and said, "Well, that has to be a mistake." This is a major point I make as a disability justice activist, and that is, when you have learning disabilities, you just can't win. Do poorly and need help, then you are a problem body and a problem mind that needs to be handled. Do well, and you still get slapped down because some people in the school setting sees you only as a deficit. I have an IEP, and yes, I get time and a half on testing. But when I get the accommodations that I need, my peers give me what I call the death stares. That suggests that I am somehow cheating or getting extra privileges. You just can't win. Outside of school, I am a globally and nationally award-winning activist and scholar, and a sought-after speaker. But inside of school, I feel like I'm seen as a problem body and a problem mind. Surely you see the mismatch. Surely you see that I am not the deficit, that systems create the deficit. There have been years where I had no one to turn to at all, and school was the lonely place I just lived from 8 to 3. Now with the advocacy work my parents and I do together, I have safe adults on campus, who I refer to as my champions. My family and I had to do years of relationship building to find ourselves in this good place today. Imagine if I did not have to fight off the bullies and entered a school already filled with champions. Imagine if I did not have to spend my resources and energy in hostile hallways and overburdened classrooms, but could spend it on learning content. Imagine if my peers treated me with dignity and respect instead of diminishment and disregard. Listen, I have a big imagination, and even I find it hard to imagine such a school as I just dreamed of. And that is exactly why you and I, student and educator, must work together for disability justice. Please, be a champion for children like me. I must mention a few things about assessments. I don't trust them. I had an early reading teacher who told my parents that she was concerned about my reading because of how low my reading scores were. I proved the assessments wrong. My parents surrounded me in books I loved, and I have grown up reading day and night. That assessment was wrong. One of the doctors who assessed me told us that I would never play a ball sport because of my visual disorder. I was captain of my volleyball team this year. I'm on our basketball team. On our basketball team and throw shot put and javelin in track and field. Yeah. That doctor was wrong. I've had so many people tell me and my parents that I can't do this or that, and I've done this or that just fine, thank you very much. I wrote my own position paper on the violence of standardized testing in 4th grade. And opted out of all standardized testing since then. Yeah. I happen to know quite a lot about decolonizing education because I have published an original 90-page research article on it in a peer-reviewed journal. And I'm here to tell you that we need to decolonize and rethink assessments in schools. For kids with disabilities, assessments are so awful, and they never measure us well. I wonder how you feel about assessments. One other point must be made. I don't stand before you as a worthy child because I have made straight A's for the last 3 years. Please do not make the mistake that I am worthy because I have won global awards for activism and national awards in STEM. Please do not make the mistake that I am worthy because I have enough scholarship to go up for tenure at a university. Please, do not make the mistake that I am worthy because I am the keynote speaker today at a major conference for the largest labor union in America. I stand before you today as a child in America who attends school. And the reason that I am worthy is because I am a child in your school. My presence alone makes me worthy. Every child is worthy. And honestly, society does not yet see me as worthy. I feel like even my school mostly sees me as a problem. It is exhausting to have to deal with that on top of homework. Seriously, it is. I need your help. We need your help. We must work together to end discrimination for students with disabilities. Please, will you join me in the work of disability justice? Making sure that we are always included, fight for our rights, that barriers to success are removed, and to help those like me with disabilities lead the way? Will you be a champion? Thank you for listening to me. Thank you to the NEA who by inviting me to this keynote, have demonstrated why you are the greatest union in the nation. Thank you to my parents, and thank you to all of the educators who have believed in me. And thank you for letting me love you, while at the same time be fierce with you. My name is Helena Donato Sapp, and I believe that my disabilities are my superpowers.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you, Helena. You are amazing. You are brilliant. We are lucky to have shared this time with you. One more round of applause for Helena. Hello, NEA. My name is Grant Schuster. I'm a California educator. I am a member of the NEA Board of Directors and a member of the Summit Design Team.
I'm going to give them space and time to clap for you. So, hi everyone, my name's Betsy Proval. I am an educator. I teach 7th grade English in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I am also a member of the NEA Board of Directors and also a member of the Summit Design Team. All right, y'all, who is ready to win big? So y'all may remember that last night we had 6 lucky members win each $150 courtesy of NEA member benefits, so shout out to member benefits. We're about to have 6 new winners announced, so stay tuned. Each winner will receive $300 each. The names, which Grant will read in a moment, were randomly selected from participants who have checked in so far.
If your name is called, you will receive a follow-up email from a member of the NEA Leadership Development Team. So drum roll, please. Our winners are you're a Commodore from the Pennsylvania State Education Association. Danielle Adams from the Missouri NEA. Denise Hermetz, Ohio Education Association. Benjamin Melick, Kansas NEA. Krista Ferris, Oklahoma Education. And Richard Askey, Pennsylvania State Education Association.
Congratulations. If your name was not called, do not despair. You will have many more opportunities to win throughout the weekend. Again, shout out to NEA member benefits. And finally, thank you all. We actually want to thank all of our speakers for today. Enjoy today, the rest of today's plenary. And we're going to kick it back over to DJ Kemet. Thank you, everyone.